So today we are so grateful to have Ted Crage from OrthoVirginia joining us. And he's going to be sharing how OrthoVirginia is using Platform to streamline training. Ted, would you mind just introducing yourself?
Sure. Yeah, my name's Ted Crage. I'm the Director of Enterprise Applications at OrthoVirginia, which is just a fancy word by saying I'm one of the software people in IT. And I've been a system administrator with Platform since 2021.
Awesome, thank you, Ted. And we're lucky to have Platform's VP of Sales, Drew Lawrence, with us today to facilitate the conversation. Also, Drew, would you please introduce yourself also?
Yeah, certainly. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. As Lauren mentioned, my name is Drew Lawrence, and I have the privilege of leading the revenue organization here at Platform. So excited to jump in. I had the chance to meet Ted back at Knowledge, at ServiceNow's Knowledge in May. So I'm really excited to jump in and talk a little bit about OrthoVirginia and how they're leveraging Platform.
Awesome, thanks, Drew. So before I hand this presentation over to the two of them, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Platform. We were founded in 2016 to address a real need for ServiceNow customers, which is to create a fully featured learning management system that operates directly inside of ServiceNow platform. We're an advanced platform partner, and as such, every release of our solution is verified by ServiceNow for reliability, security, scalability, and a lot of other things. We're based in Denver, Colorado, but we have a team spread out across the US that's committed to delivering the best learning solutions possible. So one of the questions we're going to be answering today is why we built a learning management system in ServiceNow. So being the only native learning management system gives Platform a lot of unique advantages. We're the world's most secure, powerful, flexible learning management system. Around security, we're trusted by the world's most secure government agencies because we offer a fully featured learning management system in FedRAMP High, IL5, and ATO GovCloud. And if none of those acronyms meant anything to you, a little perspective is that the next most secure learning management system in the world is FedRAMP Moderate and has fewer than 10% of the authorizations that ServiceNow has. So all this security ensures that your learning data is protected at the highest level. We're also the most powerful learning management system. Most learning management systems are siloed systems. They lock down access to data, but Platform connects learning to ServiceNow's world-class workflow, reporting engines. This includes training visibility, control, ensures your team has the right training resources at their fingertips. So we'll see today a little bit more about how this helps improve efficiency for learning programs and also helps to reduce risk. So lastly, flexibility. Again, as a native application, we can offer a lot more than white labeling of a lot of other learning management systems. You can meet learners where they are and with what they need. So this includes the ability to serve different audiences, modify learning portals, embed training portals and widgets. And so there's a lot of features and functionality, especially in our latest release around this. So Platform really meets a lot of unique training needs and even helps adapt to business needs as they change. So in summation, we combine security, power, flexibility to provide a really unique learning solution that meets the needs of a lot of demanding organizations. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to Drew, who's going to talk us through what we're talking about today. Go ahead, Drew.
Great, thank you, Lauren. So as I mentioned, when I got a chance to meet everybody, really excited to dig in and chat with Ted today. After we had met at Knowledge, it was the first time we had connected, and I heard a little bit about how Ted and his team at OrthoVirginia are leveraging Platform, and was really excited to partner with Lauren and Ted to be with you all today, where we're going to talk about a few things. First, I'm going to ask Ted to tell us a little bit about OrthoVirginia, so we have some context for everyone here on the call, as well as some of the key requirements that OrthoVirginia and their team had in choosing an LMS, what led them to choosing Platform, and a couple of areas how they're leveraging the platform, specifically around the different methods to assigning training within the platform, as well as then the end resulting business process improvements that Ted and the team have seen as a result of that. Want to make sure, when we were talking last week, I said to Ted, hey, I want to make sure I put some bullet points on this because we were having a good time and could go for a long period of time. And we want to respect everyone's time here today. We also are hoping for an engaged conversation. So please, if anything comes up, if you have any questions or comments, drop them in the box in real time as we're chatting about it. And we are going to leave time for Q&A at the end. So with that being said, Ted, I would love to hear a little bit more about OrthoVirginia and what you and the team are doing.
Sure, thanks, Drew. Happy to be here. So OrthoVirginia is a healthcare company. We're in the healthcare space. We're an orthopedic practice with about 35 sites around the state of Virginia. We have roughly 2,300, 2,400 users of ServiceNow and Platcore. The vast majority of those are employees, but we also have some consultants and contractors and students in there that also need some sort of training when they're onboarded. Let's see, we have been a ServiceNow customer since 2018, 2019, I believe. I became one of the system administrators of ServiceNow back in, I believe it was 2019, and got my certification in ServiceNow as well. So I'm in the IT space. There is, I believe, another lady on the phone, Erin Gossam, who is our LMS administrator. She's our SME. She's the expert at using Platcore in the LMS. Yeah, OrthoVirginia is might be a little bit unique than some of you on the phone. We are not, say, a higher education industry. We're not in that industry. We don't, for instance, publish classes and let people sign up for it. Instead, we have, the requirements from the user. Let's say we onboard a couple front desk users and they need to be trained. And so we build a class, our trainers build a class in Platcore to help them on their first day or second day or third day to learn everything about OrthoVirginia and all the systems they use. So it's sort of the opposite of what you would expect. We don't publish a list of all of our classes at a college for the next semester. We're constantly responding to the requirements of our end users and building content from there.
Ted, can I ask you a question on that piece?
Mm-hmm.
So from an end user experience standpoint, I actually had a familiar experience with this a couple months ago. I had to get certified on some systems that I'd actually been certified on within the last 12 months, but it was in a different context. And so the question was, do I need to recertify on this? What I'm hearing from you in this use case is, hey, it depends on really meeting the end learner where they are as they're starting or going into a new role versus kind of that blanket, everyone does everything. Some of it might be repetitive.
Yeah, there actually is a mix, and one of my slides I'm going to go through all the different ways that we use Platcore for assigning training to people. Some are, a bulk. Everybody gets it because it's a yearly training, but some are specific. Hey, we're hiring someone that starts on August the 1st, and they need training on this specific part of our EHR system. So let's get it done for them, right? So they're productive on week 1. So it's a complete mix, and that's the whole key. Is it's very flexible. You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Looking forward to chatting about that.
Yeah. So back in when we first had ServiceNow, we did have another third-party LMS. It was like Lauren mentioned. In my opinion, it was a standalone. We call it something on an island. Did it do what LMSs do? Sure. Yeah. It maintained student lists and maintained e-learnings. You could sign up for a class, etc. The common core of an LMS. But it was very old. It felt like it was in 2005. The integration, which is where I live, and because I'm in IT, the integration with our HR system was very clunky, if anything. It took a lot to maintain. I'm a person that likes to put systems in run mode, set it and forget it. It should just do what it's expected to do. I shouldn't be maintaining it every day of my life. So we were ready to jump to something. And when we were looking at the RFP, we were looking at our requirements. This is what you see right here were some big ones that we were focused on. One is, we needed something, a flexible system that can create ILT as instructor-led training, create ILT classes when trainers are ready to train. We are a company, I'm sure many of you are, where we like to give access to systems like the biggest system in our company is our EHR system. We're healthcare. If you guys are in a healthcare space, we use Epic. And we have a huge team that works on Epic all day long. And a good vast majority of our clinical people are logged into Epic and they live in Epic all day long. So you can expect that we would have a whole ton of Epic training. And Epic is huge, so it's a huge ecosystem. So we have trainings on each individual module based on what your job title is. So the point is, you're not going to get access into our Epic until you get trained. Same for almost every system that we implement. We like to, train people before we give them the keys into the system. Hey, you got to get your driver's license before you drive your car, right? That's our logic.
What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, right. So the LMS is a critical component to onboarding people and to provision user accounts, right? But the fifth point is obviously key too. I'm not working at the tip of my spear if I'm clicking buttons to add people, right? That's not what they pay me to do around here. We want to automate stuff. We want to take humans out of the loop. We want to make it super simple with at minimum clicks to do anything. And if you want to publish a yearly compliance training out to all 2,300 users we have, that hopefully it's a few clicks of a button, not typing in a bunch of names and stuff like that. So when we were looking around, back in whatever 2021, in the COVID years, to find a LMS, Platcore, we learned about Platcore because evidently Platcore is the only ServiceNow partner that has an LMS that's embedded into it. We looked at a couple other third parties, but we realized quite quickly that if it's built within the ecosystem of ServiceNow, you're going to get a whole bunch of benefit simply because it's a part of ServiceNow. ServiceNow, if you are a ServiceNow customer, you are already aware that it is at its highest level, it is a data integrator and it is a workflow system, right? That's what it does, right? It fulfills ITIL processes by integrating data with many different systems, and it can do workflow very easily, very configurably. So our ServiceNow has already had a list of all of our users. It knows all those users, what locations they're in, what departments they work in, what job titles they have. It's all right there and then. And that's because it's already integrated with our HR systems. It's integrated with our Active Directory. It's integrated with our Exchange. It's integrated with our credentialing system. It's got all this data, all this knowledge within it. And now that Platcore is already embedded into it, then the integration is sort of already done, right? I was thinking back how long it took me to basically provision every user in my company to get access to Platcore when we turned it on, and it was as simple as adding a role to the all-employee group in ServiceNow. That was it. I mean, no custom code, no anything else. It was a few clicks of a button. Real simple. So it happens to be the only LMS that is embedded in ServiceNow. I guess the flip side of the coin is, if you're not a ServiceNow customer, then Platcore is not going to work for you. But if you are a ServiceNow customer and you are looking to, or you're a company like ours that is investing more and more, trying to automate more workflows, implement more modules of ServiceNow, use it more effectively to streamline your business processes, well, Platcore, at least in our experience, Platcore has been a boon to that. So can you go to the next slide?
To those on this call, if you have, to Ted's point around being a ServiceNow customer, to extract the absolute most value that you hear Ted talking about and leveraging those workflows and automations, being a ServiceNow customer is paramount to that. If you're not a ServiceNow customer, but you want to learn more about some of that automation and benefit that you can get from that within the ServiceNow platform outside of Platcore, please send me a follow-up note. Happy to make the introduction to the right folks. You can hear more about what Ted is talking about from a ServiceNow platform standpoint, so that then we can partner with you on your learning needs as well. But so Ted, you talked a little bit about the requirements and how we met those and why you ended up selecting Platcore. And I know that as you were going into implementing the system and going live with it, one of the things you talked about was the different methods of assigning training. So I was hoping we could switch gears a little bit, chat a little bit about that, because you've got some different types and ways of doing that that, in my experience, traditional LMSs can struggle with how you would put that together and deliver that in a good experience for your end learners. So would you mind chatting a little bit about how you're leveraging Platcore to assign that training?
Yeah, it's a good segue. And yeah, thanks for switching the slides. So we assign training several different ways. Let's go through the out-of-the-box ones. So these are ones where you can do it straight out of Platcore. If all you did was implement Platcore and just turn it on, there's lots of things that Platcore does, as you would expect most LMSs do. Dynamic assignments are, hey, when something is triggered, hey, I just created a new user account. That user happens to be a scribe, so I'm going to assign them a scribe training, right? Automatically, just because they're onboarded, right? I don't have to think about it. I don't have to watch the system 2 years from now to wait for the next time a scribe is onboarded. It just magically happens because you set up that rule, right? So that's automatic. No one's looking at that. The manual ones are ones where our LMS admin, Aaron, who's on the phone, I believe, clicks a button, right? These are ones that, are intentionally, we wait for the business to be ready for it, or we want to do it on demand. One is our, yearly trainings. I would assume every company in the world does some sort of refresher training on something, compliance. We do PHI training, HIPAA training, because we're in healthcare every year to remind people. And so that's sent out to basically every employee. There are many different varieties of it. We have different training for remote employees versus on-prem. We have different training for employees versus contractors versus consultants. We have different training if you're a clinician, like a doctor versus a front desk person, et cetera, et cetera. But those are on demand. And obviously that's what's called an assignment in Platcore. So once that training is built, our LMS admin clicks a button, says, I want to filter it. If you're familiar with ServiceNow, you can filter the sys user table pretty easily. I want all active employees, maybe all active employees that have started as of 1/1/2024, and boom, send this learning plan or course, and it sends out 2,300 emails. Managers can also assign, so there's a manager portal in Platcore. So I'm actually a manager. I have 6 people that work on my team as system administrators. And if I wanted to manually assign a training class to my people, or actually we've had it set up so that you can do 2 levels below. So my boss could also assign training to my team members. That's another just on demand. And finally, the end users, there's also something called an LMS catalog in Platcore out of the box. So if anyone in the company wants to learn about our sign language software, to get access to that, they can go in at any time, go into the catalog and say, yes, I want to take that class, click go, and bam, they can take that e-learning class, right? So all those are manual things. They're out of the box LMS. You get it on day one. It works fine. The ones that really add the functionality are the stuff that you can see that we customize. This is integrating into other parts of ServiceNow, which was really kind of nice. This is getting it out of that island. Once again, you could implement Platcore as an island. It could just sit there and not know of anything else. But boy, now that we opened up the door, there's so much more, and we're still learning about things that we can do to leverage LMS more outside of just the island of learning. One is we have an onboarding ticket. This is when you onboard someone. Think of we have a custom process in ServiceNow, and you can imagine all the things that you have to do when you have a new hire. You got to get them a computer. You got to set them up in this application or that application. We got to take a picture of them. We got to set up their workspace. We got to create their AD account and their email address. And I just go on and on and on and on. One of the things that you do when you onboard someone is that training that we're talking about is, hey, the trainers, like I said, the Epic trainers in this case, get notified that we are having 6 people start on August the 1st, and they're this job title or that job title. They're at this location in Virginia, or they're remote or whatever, and here they are all. And they work together to build these classes that can be used the first week to train these new hires so they can get access to the systems that they need for the first week. And all that is initiated, it's triggered from the existence of their onboarding ticket. So once again, that's automatic. There's no human doing it. These things are constantly flowing day in and day out. And they're constantly creating training requests for our trainers, and our trainers go in and build ILT courses, assign users to them, and that's how all the training is tracked in the system. Down under manual customer, so system owner assigned. So what I'm talking about, that is some of our applications in our company are owned, as you would expect, owned by someone in operations. the head of the DME department basically is the business owner of our DME application. And when they want to have a new user, they can choose to have a new user added to their system by assigning them training of that system. And they can do it themselves. Now that person may not even work for them, so it's not up in manager assigned to the LMS manager portal. They don't even see this end user because they don't work on their team. They might work 2 hours away at a different site, working for someone completely different, but I want them to be able to access my system, so I'm going to assign training to them. Click, and now it follows the process. They get trained, and at the end of the training, that system owner might get notified of it, could add them to their account, they're good to go. So there's integration with a custom application, the onboarding ticket, a custom service catalog that was built. You'll see a lot of that on the next slide. But the point is, we've embedded it with other work processes so that it takes away a lot of that human effort. It's easy to maintain now. Things just automatically get assigned to people when they need to be assigned to people. So,
and what
Ted,
from a team's, oh, sorry, go ahead, Lauren.
Sorry, we have one question that's come through, and I'll just go ahead and address it if we can. If I set up a training, say annual information security training, is there a way that this can be assigned every 365 days?
yes. Yeah, so that's a dynamic assignment. Yes.
All right, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so Ted, before we transition and talk a little bit about the improvement, the business process improvements that you've gotten out of some of the automation and the flexibility we've talked about, question from the assignment standpoint, with the different types that you have and everything you talk through, was that something that was taken away from trainers' time before? How was that happening beforehand? And is it allowing your educators and your trainers to spend more time facilitating and teaching versus figuring out all of the paperwork and assignment and button clicks?
Well, yeah, you just said it. I mean, it's the management of the process that is much more automated right now. We're not doing it through emails, right? In fact, they're not even being notified that, or they don't even need to be notified that someone is being onboarded. They get the request that says, hey, not only is this person onboarded, but they need scribe training, and they need it the week of August the 1st, right? Everything's all laid out for them, and they all the data is given to our trainers so they know exactly what they need to do, and they can coordinate it with all, there might be 5 different scribes all over Virginia that need to be trained, and they can coordinate it all by themselves. Yeah, it's no longer herding cats. It's not living in email land all day long. It's all embedded within the Platcore LMS system. It's just, the point is, it's triggered through all these other things that are happening outside in ServiceNow, which is really a boon to everybody. Yep. It was a little bit
Thank you
painful
for that question.
Yeah.
Please keep submitting them as we keep chatting, but I'd like to transition a little bit and talk about some of those business process improvements that you and the team have benefited from as a result of everything we've talked about, and some other things we haven't quite yet. Mind jumping into that?
Yeah, sure. So out of the box LMS, I'm sure every LMS in the world, what does it do? It manages students. Yes, I have taken this class. I took it last Tuesday. I got a 90 on the test, et cetera, right? That's all out of the box. And you would expect that from any LMS vendor in 2024, right? Now that it's embedded within the ServiceNow ecosystem, we can make it do a bunch of other really cool automated business processes after that, which is really kind of nice. Things like what I mentioned before, we like to provision users in our systems after they're trained on how to use the system, right? And there's a variety of different ways, depending on what your, all these vendors that you're associated with. Some of them might be SaaS solutions, some might be on-prem, some systems might be very modern and has, really good APIs to create user accounts. Some of them, need to be added to security groups in AD that are synchronized through SSO. Some of them, I don't know, some of them we actually have to email the vendor, old school, and say, can you please create an account for Joe Schmo? Because they're ready for an account to be created. All these different methods of creating it. Well, guess what? Those are all automated from our side. We don't lift a finger anymore. So we have several business rules. If you're a ServiceNow developer like me, you know what a business rule is in ServiceNow. When you complete a certain class or a certain course or certain learning plan, and maybe on some other filtering as well, but when that is ready to be triggered, obviously you can add that user that completed the class to a security group in AD through the mid server. So if your system requires a security group that has the 42 people that can access the system in it, well, now it's 43, right? You can modify a service catalog task. So maybe these trainers, for instance, one of the things that the trainers do, which I didn't mention, after they teach a class, after the trainee completes a quiz about the class to prove that they learned, that trainer goes into Epic and flips a switch and says, your account is now active, right? That's another workflow task at the end of that original service catalog request. So it just pushes it to the next step. So now the trainer knows, okay, they're done with their, you don't need to call me. I know when you're done with your quiz, bam, now I have a task to set up your account correctly. Like I said, old school, we have at least one vendor we know of. We have to send an email to ask, hey, can you please set up an account? It's old school, but guess what? That email is being sent automatically. I don't lift a finger to do that. It can initiate another LMS assignment. We have that. Some of our courses we have, when you complete the course, it automatically assigns you another course, which happens to be a quiz of the course. When some of our ILT classes require you to also have an e-learning in parallel to that, taking the class, just to re-emphasize your training. So, and then finally, what did I mean about automation? Oh, well, yeah, all of these are automatic is basically what I was trying to imply here is, yeah, the trainers, there's a lot of training that happens right now that it just magically does what it needs to do after the training is completed. And it's because it's built within the ecosystem of ServiceNow, and ServiceNow is that data integrator, that workflow engine that can do this kind of stuff. So once again, if you build Platform on an island, yeah, go for it. I mean, you'll get what every LMS has out there. But if you take the extra step and integrate it more with some other processes that are already in ServiceNow, you're going to get a lot of automation. And we're still learning about things. A lot of automation, though. Every time we implement a new system here, for any reason, we're always constantly talking about how do we automate account provisioning? How do we automate learning management? How do we automate assigning, courses to new users or people that don't even exist yet in our world that we're going to onboard 6 months from now? Because I don't want to click a button. I'd rather have everything automated behind the scenes. So lots of possibilities there. Yep.
So to the points you chatted through here, and obviously to those of you on the call, some of these might apply to what you and your teams are doing. Some might not. But what I'm hearing from this, Ted, is really the efficiency gain of that flexible and automated power that comes from being integrated in the Now platform allows your team, whether it be your trainers, whether it be your team, whether it be someone in HR with onboarding, to really spend more of their time on that value add work that they do versus kind of the administration and back and forth that happens in business, and really adds more value to that time to meaningful outcomes for your learners versus clicking buttons.
Yeah, we call that run mode. Yeah, so the system's in run mode right now. I hope Erin forgives me for saying this, but Erin is focused right now on training because she's the manager of the training group. And I want her to be doing that. I don't want her to be focused on, oh boy, now I have to click buttons. I got to figure out how to do, how to manage this anymore. Yeah, she's getting requests automatically. They're being fulfilled automatically, and things are just running through the pipeline, right? So that's what we want her to be doing. We want the trainers to be training people. We don't want them to be worried about how the system is functioning or how to track stuff like that. That's all done automatically now, which is really kind of nice. Yep.
Awesome. Well, Ted, I thank you so much. I want to be mindful of time because I know you and I could keep chatting on this like we did last week for a while. And I want to be mindful of everyone on the call. Make sure we leave that time for Q&A that I promised you that we would respect. So please, if you've got any questions, comments, anything on your mind that Ted and I have chatted about today, please drop it into the chat. And with that, Lauren, would you mind taking over and letting me know as anything comes through?
All right, awesome. Thank you both so much. So a quick plug for a lot of the customer stories that we have on our website. You can read more about the story from OrthoVirginia. And here's Erin's picture and a quote from her as well on the screen. And the far left is the case study about all of the amazing work that they've done. And you can find this and a lot of other case studies on our website. So I will, in a second, drop the link in for that. And with that, let's see, I'm waiting for some more questions to come in. First question that I see here, have you integrated Platcore with other systems outside of ServiceNow? Ted, have you had that experience?
So is that for Drew?
It's for you, if you feel comfortable answering it.
Oh, yeah. So I was sort of mentioning it here. So obviously it's embedded within ServiceNow, but is it doing automatic user provisioning with other systems? Yes, of course. So, we have links. When we communicate new training, we provide links into Platcore. And yeah, whenever we build a brand new system, we're always talking about how it's integrated within LMS, primarily for provisioning, getting the training to get your account set up in it. So it's been a while. I'm trying to think. I don't have many systems where, the normal day-to-day maintenance of it requires you to add a new user to it. It's typically, it's automated because you're doing some training and it, creates the account automatically. So that's where the LMS is integrated into it. Yep.
Ted, as other folks are chatting in their questions, one I had for you that I know we touched on a little bit last week was kind of looking forward, as you had mentioned, kind of it's in run mode, right? Erin and the team are able to focus on training. You and the team are able to focus on some other IT initiatives you're working on. But as you look to the future, are there some things you're excited to try or to continue to integrate or expand upon within either ServiceNow or specifically Platcore?
Yeah, it's a good question. So obviously ServiceNow does these updates on a regular basis. In ServiceNow lingo, it's an update set, and that update set will, you put it on your dev environment, you test it out, you see if you've customized anything that has conflicted with the update set, and you move on. Some of the functionality that they're rolling out now, we are looking into right now. We don't have any ETA on it, but things like being able to manage certifications or skills, it's being discussed that this would be a good place to store it, because once again, it's a data, it's built in ServiceNow, and ServiceNow is a data integrator, so it's got a lot of power behind the scenes. So the idea that, hey, we have a bunch of nurses that have LPN licenses and certifications, and they expire every once in a while. Might be nice if we maintain that somewhere, and the LMS is a good spot for it. So that might be the next evolution that we go to.
Thank you. Lauren, anything else from the group?
Well, I have an addition from Erin. She says we're looking to start using the LMS training surveys in Platcore also.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have one other question, and if anyone has questions, enter them now, please. So this question, often when we're talking to third-party vendor, the maintenance of the software is a really important concern. What's been your experience with Platcore? Is it difficult to upgrade, and how is the support?
Yeah, so what's nice is, once again, I'm a ServiceNow developer myself, and this is all ServiceNow development, right? That's a module of ServiceNow. So in the past, when we found something, I literally would work with the CTO at Platcore to try to figure out what it is, especially with this custom coding that we did build, integrating it with our onboarding system and our service catalog, because obviously that's outside of the core of Platcore. And it was really simple to do. We've sometimes found things that we would implement immediately in our system, and then during the next update we would revert back to out of the box, because Platcore would improve it on their core and put it in the next update set. I don't think we've had any major issues with any update sets. It's pretty common with ServiceNow. It's just like any other update set. It's published, you put it on dev, and you test it out. The only things that we would ever really have a problem with is if we have a customization and we don't remember what we did or something like that, then there's a potential for it to be overwritten. But we find those pretty quickly. So yeah, it's a pretty good. It's getting more mature every year, which is really nice. I mean, once again, like I said, I'm not constantly working on help desk tickets about Platcore being broke. It's in run mode. I just have forgotten about it right now. It's just running. It does what it needs to do. So that's the way I like things around here in IT. So
That's the way software is supposed to. It needs to just work.
yeah, supposed to. Yeah, right.
Drew, did you have any other questions? There's nothing else submitted from the audience here.
No, nothing else comes to mind. We covered the things I wanted to make sure that everyone got to hear from you on, Ted. Thank you so very much. If anyone does have any other questions, got our contact information here on the screen. We'll be following up with a recording of the webinar, and Lauren had shared the link to the OrthoVirginia case study as well as some others in the chat. So thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to join us or to watch the recording at a later date to take time with us today. And Ted, thank you again. It was great catching up with you. Really appreciate you and Aaron and the rest of the team at OrthoVirginia.
Thanks, Drew. Thanks, Lauren.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Have a great one, everybody.
Bye-bye.